Hi, and welcome to another episode of Walleye Chronicles. This week, we get into guide talk with Captain Brandon Sislo of Angling Adventures Guide Service. So sit back and relax and enjoy some great conversation with Captain Brandon. Angling Adventures. He guides on Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Green Bay, and does ice fishing, and also what I'm super excited to talk about, boat excursions. So how's it going today, Brandon?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So you are a former Navy man?
Yeah, that's correct.
So tell me a little bit about your life growing up and what got you to the guide service.
Yeah, so it's kind of starts before I can really remember, to be honest. My grandpa had a boat in Saxon Harbor up on Lake Superior, and that's really what kind of drug the whole family into it. Growing up listening to stories of my dad and uncles missing school and somehow being out on the lake, and the calling's always been there. So I guess it was kind of in my blood before I was even around. But just kind of fishing growing up. Lake Superior was always my big call. That was always kind of the vacation fishing. My dad and grandpa fished the professional walleye circuits for a while, so we traveled around the Midwest, fishing and pre-fishing for that. But that kind of getting fished out on that a little bit, it was always the trout and the salmon that really were my calling. So that's kind of what really got me into it now. And growing up as a kid, fishing a lot, had my own boat at a young age. It was always the goal, right? The next boat, the next bite, the next, vacation that we could take. Every time you're getting away from work, you're always looking to go to that next spot to go fishing. So when I got out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with life. I just know I knew I wanted to be on the water. So I joined the Navy just to kind of make sure that I had a backup plan. I had a way to set up going forward. And so I did that for 4 years, and I came home after that, went to college, did my thing. And that actually took me off the water for a few years. And this is how we got back to it. So it's been a good run.
So a couple questions. Did going to the Navy get you on the water like you wanted to, or you stuck someplace you didn't want to be?
No, actually. So when I first enlisted, I actually went in with a spec ops contract. And I don't know if that actually helped me or hurt me. I dropped the program fairly early on. And everything that I asked for on what's called the dream sheet, I got. So I got to go on the ship I wanted. I got stationed at my first pick base. And I got to do, kind of what I wanted to do. So it was kind of fortunate that way.
Awesome. So you talked about you had a boat at a young age. What was that? What was your first boat?
I don't even know the brand, to be honest with you. It was a little 16 or a little 14-foot boat. I think it was a low. I'm not even sure. And, with a little 9.9 Evinrude, and man, the miles I put on that. Everybody remembers me for that boat too. It was hilarious. I had nicknames around town. The choke was a rock that I had to put in there because it was broke for the whole time that I had it, but I had a rock that fit in there perfectly. You just couldn't keep me off the water.
That's awesome. Everybody has that first boat where they did, just to get out any way out. It doesn't really matter what it is, what it looks like. And, you get that first boat that gives you so much. I don't know about you, but I was fishing on the shore as much as possible. And then when I got that boat, it was like, it opened up a whole nother world. It just,
Yep.
Hey listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fix TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fix TV.
At 12 years old, it's a sense of freedom, right? Yeah. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is, I'm now my kids are at that age where I'm getting them into it, and having a little boat for them. And, it's the way I would describe it is similar to what I hear adults describe having a motorcycle license, it's a freedom. It's a getaway.
So you got through college, and then what got you into finally deciding to become a guide?
I wish I would have done it earlier. It was something that I always wanted to do, but I always thought was out of reach. It's a scary jump, and especially at a young age. So when I separated, I did my 4 years. I came back. I used my college. I had a daughter that was about 4 or 5 months old when I separated. So going into a career path that was going to be that risky was not an option, right? I had a wife and a child to take care of. We needed to provide for her. We were moving all the way back across the country again. I was stationed just north of Seattle in a town of Everett. So we were moving, 2/3 of the way back across the country and starting life all the way over again. So from the military point of view, those that have done it, they understand. I was married going into it. We moved out there and started over. We moved back, start over again, go to school. So you got to get over that. And that was, nobody in my family's ever really taken a risky job. Like I've never seen anybody in my family, really follow their dreams. It was something, I was kind of the first one in my family to join the military as well. So I kind of went off on my own path. Joined the military, come back, used the college, took the safe route, and it just, I did well, but it just wasn't on the water. It wasn't outside. It wasn't with people. It wasn't doing new things every day. It just wasn't. And I did it for years and years and years. And then it was just finally, my spouse at home, everybody, it's just like, what do you actually want to do? This is, and I had people saying, why don't you guide? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I had so many family and friends, every weekend off, we were going somewhere, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, and not just fishing, but flat out on these, expeditions basically. Yeah. And everybody wanted to do it. And I had a lot of family and a lot of friends doing it. And everybody's like, why don't you do this? Like, this is something people want. And nobody really has the ability to do it. Like people don't offer some of this. And I still was not willing to take the risk. Lot of overhead. I kind of knew. And until finally the real world got to the point where it's like, you know what? This sucks. You feel like you're running away from your life every day to get a break. It is worth it. So jumped into it. I tried part-time a little bit, realized that to license and insure and do things the right way, you really couldn't break even part-time. I kind of picked on myself a little bit for a while that I went from fishing with friends and family to fishing with people that I didn't get to choose. In weather I didn't get to choose, on days I didn't get to choose, and I still didn't make any money. So what do? You either get in or you get out. So we jumped in, and it takes a little while to gain some momentum, but it's been good. It's been real good.
So did you have your captain's license before, or is it something you took to become a guide?
So I got my captain's license about a year beforehand, and I was dabbling with the idea, right? Do I jump in? Do I jump out? And I was really on the fence. And then just a few series of life events kind of was like, you know what? It's just telling me to go. I got a call one day, or I got a message one day asking if I'd be interested in guiding in Alaska. And I kind of laughed a little bit too. I was like, no, I'm not interested in guiding in Alaska. And I never even told anybody. And a week went by and 2 weeks went by. And I just texted the guy back. I still never told anybody about it. I texted the guy back and I said, what's the dates? What's the pay? Like, what's the details? Like, I'm kind of sick of doing what I'm doing. And that actually, as crazy as it sounded at first, the more I thought about it, maybe that makes sense to get out of what I'm doing and get into what I want to do. He gave me the details. I was like, wow, that sounds cool. And I've never been to Alaska, but that's one of those dream things as a kid. Yeah. That's what you think about. So I came home. And
everybody wants to be a guide in Alaska as a kid. There's not too many 10 to 12, 14-year-olds that, like, if you dream back of what you want to do, you want to be a fishing or a hunting guide. You want to be on some river in the middle of no man's land. We're just you and a client out there. That's everybody's kind of childhood dream.
That's exactly it. And it was interesting because I started getting, some more questions and some more like, hey, are you qualified for it? Are you able to do it? Does this time frame work? The job that I was offered was a 6-week stint, which, if you work on the salt side, you're usually May through September, October. They're pretty long seasons, and I can't leave my family for that long. So this was a 6-week stint. And initially it was completely crazy. There's no way. But the more I thought about it, it wasn't so crazy. And I knew, I was just thinking, like, am I in the right place at the right time? There's got to be, this is something, because this is one of those opportunities that is too good to pass up. So I got a hold of, I talked to my other half, and we kind of talked about it a little bit and how we could get it to work. And at first, same reaction. You're crazy. The more we talked, though, we talked about like the long term out of it, and that was what I needed, right? That was really good pay. That was a really good experience. That was good everything. So I did that for 2 seasons, just so that I didn't have to be as full during the summer, right? So I packed the second. Yeah, so I went up there and worked for 6 weeks, and then I packed the second half of my summer full of my own trips here, and that made the start a lot easier because, again, I never worked for another guide. I didn't work on a charter boat. I literally blood, sweat, and tears from the ground up started on my own.
Wow. Do you remember your first trip?
Yep, I do. Yeah, and there's ice. So I started off ice fishing, and the ice is always more stressful than the fishing usually. And so my ice trips, 90% of my ice trips are on Lake Superior. We do, near shore trout until we get offshore, and then we start chasing lake trout. The Apostle Islands is a really special area because you have Schwamingen Bay, and as our ice builds into the Apostle Islands, we're able to use these islands to keep our ice locked in. It's the only place on Lake Superior where we really have that opportunity. It's not that it's the most convenient place to fish, but it's the only place on Lake Superior that gives me the ability to continue chasing trout and salmon 12 months out of the year.
I gotcha. That's crazy. So you started guiding, and you had it took you a little bit to get going. So tell me about the different places where you guide. So what you do Green Bay for walleyes, I assume?
Yep. So right now I live in Marinette. I was raised here. I wasn't born here. But this is where we live. So I typically, it would be kind of crazy to not fish the spring walleyes. This is my back door. I don't get as excited about walleyes just because I grew up fishing them constantly. I still like it. I still enjoy it. Most of the time when we get walleye trips, I talk to people about doing a combo with walleyes and browns. And in the end of the trip, a lot of guys have more fun with the brown trout. So we kind of run a little bit of both of that, and that's on Green Bay. The other thing that does for me is if we have good ice in the Apostle Islands, that'll last into the end of March and sometimes even a little bit into April between the islands and Schwamingen Bay. So Lake Superior, as far as ice goes, it's kind of like a train. It takes a lot to get it going, but once you get it going, it takes a lot to stop it too. So I can literally end my ice season and hop in the boat within days, if not overnight, if I really want to. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's crazy. That's where you're located, that you can go from being on the ice to on the water pretty much the next day. And I suppose because Green Bay, that opens up fairly quickly, and you're up in the other places that holds on a little farther. It's kind of crazy that you can just go from one to the other like that. Yeah, which is a lot of extra gear you got to have ready to go at that time of year too. The switch over.
Oh yeah, so every day in between fishing right now, we're on the boat. We're buffing the boat. We still have the lower units out, waiting on a couple parts to reseal. Yeah, it's everything at once. Anything you can do every single day, to put yourself a couple steps ahead of where you started when you woke up, because it can happen fast. And 2 years ago, everybody in the Midwest didn't really get a winter. So 2 years ago, in January and February, we were breaking ice and running our trips out of the boat. We were literally breaking the ice out with the boat, letting the wind blow it away so that we could run trolling passes. So we really are ready for everything. Our boat's set up really well for it now. We can sit in a heated cab and we can troll brown trout when it's below freezing out, and it's fine.
Walk me through that boat, because I was doing my research on you, looking up, and I saw a picture of your boat, and then I got interested in your boat just as much as I was interested in you. That's quite the machine you got there. That looks like comfort all day long. Looks like it can take some waves. Tell me a little about the boat.
Yeah, so it's a North River. That was another one of them boats. They're made on the West Coast. Most people are familiar with Hughes Craft. This is arguably one of, if not the best quality production welded aluminum boat on the market without going to a custom boat. Yep. the guys, and I got to see a ton of different brands and variations of these boats when I was in Alaska and when I was living on the West Coast. I never thought in a million years that I would have one myself. But I landed on an opportunity to get one that was lightly used, a couple of years old, and I jumped on it because the boat really is. It's an incredible machine.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it looks like it can handle pretty much anything that you would be into, and there's comfort to it too. Yet, which is kind of most people don't really get that. I mean, you get that in big Lake Michigan charters, but it's not quite the same thing as where you're running.
Yeah. So what we need, we need a boat that we can trailer. So we want to be big enough to. I mean, the boat fishes big. It fishes like a big boat, but we also want to be able to utilize a bow mount trolling motor for some spot lock functions. When we get out in Lake Superior and we're fishing, we could be fishing 100 to 200 to 250 feet of water sometimes for lake trout. And when we're trying to stay vertical on these fish, jigging them, that spot lock is incredibly important. And when we get to places like Standard Rock or a couple other of the areas that we like to jig where we do run into a few other boats, you can really see the results tenfold, because instead of drifting and throwing drift socks, we can park on top of the fish and we can stay on top of the fish. So there's a lot of times where you find that, they're keying in on one spot on the break or one little piece of the structure, and we can sit right on them and watch them, and as they move, we can kind of stalk them. So it really helps us be effective. We got to be trailerable. And we also want a big boat, right? We're fishing big water. We're making big runs. When we talk about, Standard Rock, even, we're 38 miles offshore. Some of our Munising and Grand Marais runs, we're running 25, 30, 40 miles offshore. So we need something that you always want to play weatherman as best as you can, but you need something that isn't an open bow boat. And if something that is unpredictable that comes up, you can safely get everybody back. So
how long does it take you to run out there, like Standard Rock?
Totally weather dependent. I mean, I don't want to give you the generic answer, but usually, you're setting up and you're running fuel economy and keeping everybody comfortable. So you plan for an hour to hour and a half to 2 hours usually.
That's not terrible.
No, on a nice day, you can do it pretty quick. You make it out there in an hour or so. But
and you used to be own a Yardcraft, I saw too as well.
Yeah, I missed that boat. I did not want to sell it, but for me, I tried to get everybody in my friend and family group to buy that boat because I didn't want to see it. So funny thing too. So we'll circle back a little bit. We talked about when I was younger, I stood in a 219 Yardcraft at Nest Egg Marine in Marinette, Wisconsin when I was a kid. In 2007, when that hull came out, they used to be built right here in Menominee, Michigan. They moved to Wausau, Wisconsin. Yep. The Dahlman tournament that's held at Nest Egg every spring still is in honor of Dahlman, the founder of Yardcraft boats. Okay. So we fished that tournament, and when that new hull came out, Corey and I can't remember the other gentleman's name, they used to always show up to that tournament. We could demo those boats. And as a teenager, I remember demoing them. And then as a dealer, one came into the showroom, and I remember standing in that boat thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. So it was kind of a weird childhood thing that came full circle on me. As an adult, I never thought I would have one, in my life. And I ended up with that boat. And I had a knot in my stomach watching it pull out of the driveway. I don't know.
I currently own one of those boats. So that's why I was love seeing it. I had a similar experience a few years ago at the Milwaukee Boat Show. I was down there and I was talking to Robert Kloss, and he's, and I got in the boat and I'm like, I didn't think, growing up, I grew up in the world where everything was Linder fishing, so everything was Lund, and you had to have Lund. So my brain was kind of predetermined that that's what I wanted to have. And at the time, that's what I did have. And he goes, just get up in it. Just get up in it. So I, go up and get in there, and I'm like, dude, this is a really nice boat. Really nice. And fast forward, 8 months later, I ended up buying one. And I'm like, and it is, is my favorite boat I've had. And, I will hopefully always own a Yardcraft from here on out, because I've had nothing but, I've had some, some issues with it here and there, but not stuff that is crazy.
Which model do you have?
I have the 219 TRX.
Yeah, and that's Man, that was fun. I mean, I even had that, I still had a Pro XS on the back of that boat, and it was crazy. You still show up to guys with 300 strokes in the same boat. You'd have a 219 with a 300 stroke on it, and you'd blast off at tournament day and see ya.
I'm running I got a 400 Verado on the back, so it gets up and it just goes, and it's so smooth, and just how it runs. I'm as happy just driving it as I am fishing on it sometimes. It just rides so well, and it's so light, and it fishes. It rides big, but it fishes real big too. The front, the way there's so much room up there. I love that on the front you can, if you're in the front battling waves or spot locking or whatever on the live scope, it's awesome for that up there. But then if you're going and you're in Green Bay trolling and you're in the back and them sides are super high and you can get right to the sides on them things, and it's like two separate boats merged together. It's the weirdest thing.
It is. It's if you go side by side against some of the other 21, 22 foot boats, it is smaller. But it was sad. So my dad growing up too, he used to work at the aircraft factory and the local marina. And it was kind of sad watching the aircraft as a whole leave. And when dad and grandpa were fishing the walleye circuits, they had an old Storm hull, and that was a great boat too.
Yep.
So it was always kind of around. And then Bass Cat acquired them, and that was kind of a sad deal, but they've done a phenomenal job with the brand. I mean, they've really, the pride is still there. I think everybody stepped back and took a deep breath for a minute, but then now, they saw that they've done a good job with the brand, and it really is. It's been nice to see.
Yeah, I am surprised, because I was, like everybody, you see somebody get acquired and you're worried how it was going to go, but they honestly, to me, it went the other way. They really did some things that it almost is like, when you look back over the last couple of years, probably 2021, 22 or whatever, when they kind of really redefined it to what it is now. It kind of put the rest of the industry on kind of a, hey, you don't have to sit and look at the exact same Ranger for the next 20 years. We need to do things to help out. If it's, places to hide the net storage, or just including all these things in stuff and making it more easier friendly for us. And if you're buying a $100,000 boat, it better have some bells and whistles on it, right?
Yeah.
It's not. I don't want to just buy it for the name. And that was awesome to see that they put stuff like that into there and really cared about their boat, not just like, we're just gonna. It's already got the name. We're just gonna pump it out to the people that already like it. But it seems like when I bought mine's 3 years old now. There was only like one more on the Winnebago chain, and now there's, I think 15 of us.
There's a couple of dealerships like Cedar Lake and a couple of them guys that are doing really good pushing boats. I personally have never been there and I don't know them, but I believe like you talked about Robert Kloss, I believe that's where his boats come from too. It sounds like his is up for sale again. I think he's getting another new one.
Yeah, he's on the every year switch train, which would be awesome. But also, the same token, I feel like that's a hell of a lot of extra work.
Yeah, that's not for me either. And as far as the boat goes itself, again, for the big runs and running more guys, I needed to do something to keep people more comfortable is really what it turned into. Fishing wise, I've figured out, I've got my rig dialed, absolutely just dialed. But again, having the roof, being able to have the heat, there's a few things that I needed to adjust so that I could accommodate comfort in bigger numbers. In the aircraft, I had a really hard time, even if I had 3 people in there. When it comes time for trolling, we were kind of tripping over each other. Yeah. Jigging and casting was always good. But now there's some things too. There's some trade-offs back the other way. I can't sit in a river with a whole bunch of boats and jig walleyes. I can't. My cab blows around. It's honestly, it's pretty disrespectful to everybody around me that's trying to fish. You just can't control it the same in certain situations. But we figured out how to fish differently. Yeah. And having a quality rig. I mean, and that was going from a 1900 Pro V to that Yarcraft really, really exaggerated to me how important it was. I mean, obviously everybody knows it's important, right? But when you really see the difference in performance, ride, handling, and fishability, when you really see it drastically, right? Firsthand in something that you're sitting in every day, you start thinking a little differently.
Right. That's why I always tell everybody, just get into different boats, ride them, fish them. Everybody, I always tell people, if you're interested in the aircraft, give me a call, let's go fishing. You'll think differently of it afterwards, because there's people have what they've grown up and what they've kind of been put in their brains of whoever over time, and they kind of feel that's the only way to be. When I first started tournament fishing, I was tournament fishing with a partner that had a Ranger, and I was like, oh my god, I was running a long of the time. Like, well, this Ranger's much better. And then I sat in other people's boats and pre-fished people's had Camus and and everything else, and then I get in this Yardcraft, and I'm like, actually, the funny part is I drove it. I bought mine used from a guy in Lake Superior. So actually, the first time I ever drove it was on Lake Superior, which I thought was kind of odd. But I was like, this thing is just a fabulous boat. But yeah,
Ben?
No, can't remember his name.
Was he from Ashland?
Yeah, he has a HVAC company.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Is it must be the gray one? Is it a gray boat?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a darker gray. Yeah. He flips them every couple of years too.
Yep. I think I know which boat you're talking about.
I can't remember. He had a weird last name. I'm sure it'll come to me, but yeah, he has a heating company up in Ashland. Yeah. Gorgeous.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how them boats stand out. Like, you kind of know, even if you don't know who has it, there's a few that come from Escanaba, and there's a few, you kind of figure out who's who running around.
Yeah.
But
right. I always think it's funny. Like, we'll go tournament fishing, and I may not know your name, right? Like, afterwards, we off having beer, whatever, and I'll see the guy and I'll be like, I don't know the guy's name, but I know he drives this. You know what I mean? You kind of know people by their boats, because you see, you talk to them a little bit on the water, but you associate them with that boat, kind of that brand, and you're like, well, that's the guy with the white Ranger with the weird the weird kicker on the back, whatever.
Yeah, I used to laugh because I used to tell Dad, geez, I think I'm gonna have to get a Ranger, and he think I was crazy, but you can't tell the Rangers apart so easy, and when you get out fishing on the bay, and it's hard. You post stuff on social media and this and that, and then people recognize, and in that Yardcraft, I always felt like I stood out.
Yeah.
Well, then I bought this North River, and it's like, you know what? Ain't even worth trying anymore.
Right.
Just too bad.
So what's a trip like you? Tell me about, so you do overnight trips and things on those natures too, as well?
No, not really.
Is that just for Willie?
Yeah, so we went out. You got to find the right person, right? I got a few people that I fished with a bunch of times, and you got to have the right person to go spend the night fishing too, because you can't get away from them.
Yeah, right. You're stuck with for the night.
But I used to have permits for the national parks, and we used to actually do overnight trips. We used to go to Isle Royal. We used to go to Isle Royal for 4 or 5 days at a crack minimum, because you want to make your trip worth it. Those trips costed a lot of money, and the Park Service changed some rules, and just one thing to the next, and it's just not worth it anymore. I can't block out a week at a crack, and then if the weather's wrong, cancel a full week on my schedule. So really, business-wise, I loved it. I still love it. I take my family out there, but as far as business-wise, I had to eliminate that. The Apostle Islands, kind of the same thing. So we ice fish in the area, but we can't really fish. On the shoreline, we can't spend the night. Can't do any of that anymore. So basically, we're not doing overnight trips.
But I see you do like boat excursions and things of those nature, shipwrecks and rocks and all that stuff. What's that like? What's that? Somebody's booking that. What are they looking for?
Yeah, so in certain areas, we throw that out there. I used to do it a lot. And again, a lot of that came with park permits. A lot of that was, it was things that we could do. Isle Royal was really the big one. We used to spend a considerable amount of time at Isle Royal every year. And then we were going to permit for the Apostle Islands and go full launch on that. So with that change, that's taken a lot of things, a lot of options off of that table. Anywhere there's a national park or a national lakeshore, there's special rules with. And so we're not dealing with permits from the national parks anymore, or national lakeshores or national parks. We're just not doing it. Business wise, it's almost foolish. They basically kicked us out without kicking us out because they can't. But so there's still a lot of places. There's a lot of shipwrecks. There's places we can view them with cameras. There's places we view them with live scope. So I have the LVS 62, which is a saltwater version. We can see 500.
Yes, that big thing.
Yeah. So when we get out, I mean, obviously it's sport fishing, but it's really cool because I'm not a diver. I have enough money invested in other hobbies like fishing,
right?
that I don't think becoming a diver is in the plans. I always thought it was cool, but you just get maxed out with your hobbies, and you get too many and you just can't be effective at any of them anymore. So we're going to stick with fishing. But I do really think that these shipwrecks are cool. I think the history of the Great Lakes is fascinating. I love learning things. So we'll scan wrecks with live scope. We have the LVS 34 and we have the 62. So depending on depths and stuff too, we can look at a lot of that. Lighthouses, there's a ton of lighthouses that we can see, whether it's Door County, whether it's Lake Superior. And I don't want it off the site because you would be amazed. You'll just get a call from a little old lady in New York City, and she wants to come. She's going to fly all the way to the Midwest. Her goal is to photograph every lighthouse in the United States. Well, that's fine and dandy. And they'll pay for 2 days to make sure that we have a weather day to do it. And they're happier than a peacock. So the thing about a lighthouse is it is cool. So it's fun. You do a little bit of research so you can kind of help feed a little extra info on that. Yep. And it can't swim away. You don't have to get it to bite. You don't have to figure out what it wants that day. I mean, it's easy. And with the boat we have, we can offer a really safe and comfortable trip for people that are into that kind of thing.
Right. That makes pretty cool. I mean, all the different things up in that area, you don't think about that. Most of us are going up just for the fish, don't realize all the history that's there on the shore, and the lighthouses, the rocks, the shipwrecks all over the place. It's pretty crazy. All that stuff is up there, and we just, chasing our fish around. It
really is. And what amazes me, between the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and the state of Wisconsin, and the North Shore of Minnesota too, same thing. The amount of things, northern Minnesotans know what they have, right? Mm-hmm. They enjoy the outdoors. They hunt, they fish, boundary waters, Lake Superior, all that stuff. Northern Wisconsin, you never really know. There is so many people in northern Wisconsin and even the UP that have no clue. They have no idea. They've heard of the Apostle Islands. They've heard of, Pictured Rocks. They've heard of, the shipwrecks and the Edmund Fitzgerald and all this stuff. But they really have no idea. They've never visited it. They go to Cancun every year, or they go to Florida every year.
Right.
But there is so much right here out our back doors. And even just stuff that people see in passing. You get people on a fishing trip one time, and then all of a sudden their curiosity is spiked. Wow, this is here. I just wanted to catch a lake trout, but I can't believe the scenery up here. This is only an hour and a half from where I live,
Yeah. So, it is crazy that all the stuff up there, I mean, there's people that are up there, but I feel like it should be if you live in Wisconsin, you should check these things off before you go, right? I mean, we always try to make a point to get up to one of the places in the summertime and spend a week of, lately it's been Door County pretty much every year because the fishing, right? But the Apostle Islands. I have not taken my boat up there. I've always wanted to. I haven't. I really wish I would. Just not really for the fishing. Just kind of the riding around. I think would be kind of fun. But there again, you never really know on the weather. I suppose on your vacation day if you're going to get bad days or not. But
so if you ever do with your family, I mean, they have a ton of established campsites out on the islands, and it's if you go and stay out in the islands, so you don't have to do the 25-mile ride every day. You can do a lot of boat riding. You can camp with the family. You can do a lot of fishing. It's pretty cool.
That's all. So tell me about a trip with you on Lake Superior. What's the perfect day? What time of year? What are we doing this? When are you normally scheduling those trips, and what are you going after?
So the big trips that we like running on Lake Superior, we're really trying to push towards doing more jigging. Last year we did a ton of jigging for lake trout from June all the way through October. We'll go as late as we can, but we just kind of caution people. The later, the better. Fishing is really cool. Like if you get standard rock and stuff, you start getting on some of this offshore structure. You have fish piling up ready to spawn. So The later fishing is cool. There's a lot of fish, high density. There's a lot of big fish around, but the weather doesn't really cooperate as well. So a lot of times, we don't want somebody flying from halfway across the country, booking one day, and it's just got to happen that day because we don't want to disappoint them. Mm-hmm. So we're doing mostly jigging. If we have to, we'll troll as a fallback. And
so question. So most people, that's odd to most people, right? I mean, growing up, I grew up a little ways away from Green Lake, and it was always trolling lake trout. So is it easier for the jigging or a better experience, or why are you going more towards jigging than trolling?
There's a handful of reasons. One, it's more hands-on. People don't get bored as easy. It's more rewarding and it's more fun. If you look at, so people that lake trout fish a lot and guys that do it summer and winter, a lot of guys will tell you, that one lake trout through the ice is more rewarding than 10 open water, right? There's just so much more challenges. It's more challenging, right? There's more things to it. You have less opportunity. When you go jigging in the summer, it's different, right? We don't have to worry about safe ice. So we can go anywhere. If they're not here today, we can go there. So our slowest day of jigging last year, we had 16 fish in the boat. Wow. So when you talk about jigging versus trolling, you could work hard on a good day and, you might get, 30, 40 fish on a really fired up day. Our best day jigging this year, we had 118 fish. Jeez. So that was with 3 young children and dad. So it was really an incredible day. We had quite a few trips over like in that 70, 80 fish range. So the success rate is awesome. Jigging for lake trout is really fun for me because we drive offshore. You can't see a shoreline. We don't see another boat all day. We don't see, I have areas like we're not just running Standard Rock. Standard Rock is awesome. I love it. But there's a lighthouse to look at. There's other boats to look at. I had a lot of places where they call Standard Rock lonely. We go places where you don't even have a lighthouse to look at, and so it really is rewarding. Even kids, just the accomplishment of I did it by myself. And you have it too a lot of times where you have like a husband and a wife, and the woman doesn't fish a lot, and she sets the hook and reels the fish in, and it's the sense of accomplishment, right? They did everything. I didn't set the rod. I didn't hand them the rod. Nothing. They did everything themselves. So awesome. I'm able to just help coach them through it. Once we figure out the mood of the fish that day, we kind of give them a quick rundown. We show them how everything works. And then once in a while I'll grab a rod and just kind of see, what's changing as the bite slows down a little bit and kind of get things adjusted back into it. And everybody just gets to go at it.
So what kind of equipment are you using for that?
A lot of our rods, we're using like 8 to 8.5 foot spinning rods with all spinning reels. I'm not a bait caster guy. I know some people do like to use bait casters. We're using pretty heavy line. There's kind of a balance with jig and lake trout, especially if you get into deep water. If you're talking, 150 to 250 feet of water, you have a lot of things that you need to work against, right? You got to bring them up slow, but you need to bring them up fast enough if you get a big fish too, that you don't just absolutely fight them to death. There's a bunch of things that go into it as well. Even down to we're measuring our thermocline. How deep is our thermocline? If we get out to some of these spots and we have a thermocline, if we have 68, 70 degree water and it's pushed down 50, 60, 70 feet, well, we're not even going to fish there. And it really sucks, but you get there, mark fish, you drop your probe, and you can't fight a big fish through 60 feet of hot water and release that fish back into it and expect them to go down and release. So conservation is always a big one, but there's a bunch of things that go into it. But gear-wise, we're using usually 3,000 series reels spooled up with 15-pound. I like Power Pro, but starting to use some of that fins, experimenting with a couple of different things too. And then we're using 25-pound leaders. So we use a lot of RJ jigging spoons. Jigging spoons are kind of one of my favorite from Minnesota to Isle Royale to the Apostle Islands, Superior Shoals on the Ontario side, Standard Rock, Grand Marais, Munising area. Everywhere I've been in this lake, one of the most consistent baits that I've ever used for lake trout is a jig and spoon. And them 2 ounce heavy jig and spoons from RJ that I use, we can cast them if we're in 20 feet of water and we can fish them, or we can jig them in 200 plus feet of water and we can still fish that same lure. And again, just very effective. We do bring tube jigs. We do bring plastics. We do bring, I use Billy Rub scent. A lot easier than trying to deal with cut bait and cured bait and that type of thing. And Billy Rub is one of them things that I've found that, he actually grinds up, if you have one that says herring, he actually ground up herring and cooked it into a medical grade balm. So it's not, a scent that they tried to mimic. It is actually, herring ground up into that balm. So I've been using that winter and summer, and it's easy because I can carry it in my pocket. I don't have the mess of cut bait. And I've also found that to be really effective on some of the finicky days.
Bet. So how long does it take if somebody's got one at 200 feet? How long does it take them to reel that up?
It kind of depends. It depends. And so we go through this a lot because your big fish can control their. So first off, your lake trout are the only freshwater fish that have control of their air bladder, right? So they can release air and come up and down, and they do it naturally, right? You can watch them on your 2D sonar. You can watch them on your live scope, whatever you have. You can watch these fish ascend and descend 150 feet at a crack on their own. So there's a little bit of controversy on catching and releasing some of these fish out of deep water. We don't try to catch these fish in deep water. We try to catch them as shallow as possible. Mm-hmm. But when we bring up a small fish, they don't control their air bladder as well as a big fish.
Okay.
So if you're not careful with a smaller fish, as soon as you set the hook on the fish, you kind of want to gauge the size of the fish, because if you have a smaller fish, if you reel it up too fast, let's say 200 feet, you reel it up to 50, 40 feet, somewhere in there, you'll notice all of a sudden your line will go slack and it'll just float up to the surface. Well, you killed the fish instead. Now you got to bring it home, put it in smoker. If you want a few to eat, that's fine. But a big fish, first of all, you're not going to be able to lift it too fast. Mm-hmm. And second of all, when you do, they're way faster to start releasing air, and they're way better at controlling their air as they come up. So typically you can bring them within eyesight, and it's that last 30 feet that's important. Lake Superior is so clear that as soon as they get within eyesight, we'll usually let them swim around for a little while. If we didn't, and we wait for the bubbles, right? You watch the bubbles come up, and you kind of get a feel for that a little bit. And then when you feel like they're good, you bring them up. And the other part of that is 30 feet down, we're trying to fish in areas where they're in the cold water yet. So if we have a 15 or 20 foot thermocline, we can keep them down in the cold water. We can let them decompress, let their air go. And then as soon as we know that they're good, we bring them up, quick do a CPR, and then we let them back in the water. When we do these trips, something else that I stress on, I always explain to everybody in the beginning of the trip, is we don't keep fish on purpose. So there is going to be a certain mortality if you're going to get out into deep water fishing. There's going to be, so we very, very, very rarely, actually, you know what? I don't think we ever came back with a limit this summer, and it was intentional. We're not going to go out and we're not going to go pound these areas and just clean them out. So if we have 4 guys on the boat and they bring home 10 or 12 fish, that's fine. And those are all fish that, didn't make it. So if we get to the end of the day and we're getting within that, last half hour of closing time, and we had a really good day, not a very deep thermocline, fish are releasing good. Then it's like, all right, you guys want to keep a couple of fish. Let's get 5 or 6 fish in the boat, so you guys have something we can bring home. So conservation is a really big thing in my boat. Everybody that's fished with me, whether we're on the ice or whether we're on the boat, we try to take care of our systems.
Awesome. You feed on 30 feet.
Oh yeah. And further sometimes. So, and the other thing is it's funny too, because if you have live scope and down mode, I'm sure you've played with live scope plenty. Even when the fish burps, you can either look for it or you can watch it on live scope. That thing just picks everything up. So it's kind of cool. I put live scope out if people need it. When it comes to jigging for Lakers, if you're not on really extreme structure, I've learned how to do it. I learned how to do it with 2D sonar before any of these gadgets were out. So I don't need it to find fish and stay on fish. A lot of people request to see it. I always ask, hey, do you want to see live scope? And then, there's guys that are like, oh, what is it? I'm like, well, if you don't care, I mean, you don't care. But a lot of times we'll bring it out to show guys and stuff. But
that's cool. I suppose everybody wants to kind of see what all the complaining and bitching and moaning's about.
Yep. And I'm that guy, right? If that was one of the most controversial questions I had, all year, and almost everybody asked, what do you think about banning it? Because I had people on the boat that thought, both ways.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it just doesn't matter to me. I mean, we caught fish before it was here. We'll catch fish if it's got to go. It's nothing to sweat over.
I gotcha. And then tell me about your Lake Michigan trips.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on the schedule a little bit. So we ice fish. We're in the Apostle Islands ice fishing. We're going to be there into March as far as we can run. April, we turn around and we start catching walleyes and browns as soon as we can break the ice with the boat and get it in the water here in the Menominee River and into Green Bay. In May, I send the boat down to Port Washington and we chase cohos. Our salmon aren't up by us yet. Our salmon start in lower Lake Michigan and they kind of migrate north. So a lot of the guys, we go down there to kind of stretch our season out. Somewhat to get out of walleye fishing too, for me, is as much as I like fishing, I'd still rather stay on my trout and salmon. So we go down to Port and that's a really hot bite. We had 2 trips in the entire month of May that didn't limit out, caught just unbelievable amounts of fish. And as we're down there, you start to see the kings show up, and then the fish start on their migration. When they get up to Door County and they start creeping into the bay, then we bring the boat back home, and that's where we're at. So we trailer for our trips on Lake Superior. We trailer north and we run them, and otherwise the boat's sitting right outside the back door here in the marina on the river, and we're running all of our trips right out of here.
Wow. So everybody thinks that guiding is easy work. Tell me otherwise.
It is. Everything's a write-off, isn't
it? But as far as people don't realize that you guys are at the boat, anywhere from an hour or longer before everybody else. I don't know how any of you guys guide ice fishing. I think that blows my mind, the amount of work that goes into guide ice fishing.
It is a lot of work.
That's a ton of work.
No, it's a lot of work, but at the same time, it's really a blessing, honestly. I do wish I would have got into this at a younger age. Not that I'm old now, but I do wish I would have got into it at a little younger age, and kind of developed a little bit of a group with some of the other things that happen in the industry. I've just kept my nose to the grindstone, try to stay out of all that stuff. There's when you talk about difficult, there's a lot of drama in this industry people don't understand. So navigating your way without getting involved in that is a big deal. And the hours that are put in. It's also kind of a feast or famine thing. You gotta do things right. Doing things right costs a lot of money, and it also costs a lot of time. So it's difficult because there's a lot of people, unfortunately, now that are in this industry that are not doing things right. Price wise, we can't compete with that. The weekenders that aren't insured, that aren't doing things right. We're seeing more and more of that. And so there's a lot of challenges, but again, I would never go back to doing what I was doing before, so it is what it is. Ice fishing is, it's an incredible amount of work. But man, I look forward to it all year long. Now it gets here and it's 10 below and blowing 30 miles an hour. And I'm like, boy, I could summer fishing sounds pretty good, but all summer long, you're waiting for the ice. So it's double-edged sword.
Yeah. I see you guys in the mornings getting up, or even in Green Bay, and I'm up there and seeing the guys change over their boats at noon, and I was like, man, I actually had a moment last year when I was up in, just down from Winneconne or where it was, some on the Wolf River. and a guy had a Ranger boat, and he had 4 clients on the Ranger boat, and they were jigging. Fish weren't biting that great, so he was kind of into some, weedy, rocky area that was going to grab jigs, right? Normally, I don't see guides in there much, but the fishing was kind of tough. He went through one drift, and every single person lost the jig in that one drift. And he's tying on. He had 2 backup rods ready to go, so he got those. Was tying, and he literally tied for about 15 minutes. He doesn't but tie and change out rods. Everybody, I'm like, oh my god, that seems to be very difficult to deal with. I think for the average person, I think it takes a certain kind of guy to be a guide.
It's more about the people than it is the fishing at the end of the day, too. Honestly, everybody that I talk to, everybody that fishes with me, I've probably said it before on other podcasts. All of my trips, there's 3 things that every trip has to meet. Number 1, we got to be safe, right? If we can't be safe, we can't go. Number 2, we got to have fun. If we can't go out and have fun, it doesn't really pay to go. And then number 3, we got to catch fish. And every trip has to happen in that exact order, right? So we have to be safe. I'm playing weatherman. I'm determining our conditions, and I'm here to keep everybody safe. That's why we have to credential and we have to go through the steps we do. Number 2, we have to have fun, right? So yeah, maybe the fish are biting, but if it's, just absolutely downpouring rain all day, you're way better off giving people the option because.
Hey listeners, let's talk outdoor streaming. What is the best outdoor streaming platform out there? Well, it's simple. It's Fixed TV. Not only do they have this great program, but they have all kinds of hunting and fishing shows along with some weaponry shows. So when you get bored and need something to do, get your fix with Fixed TV.
For a lot of people, that's not fun. That's not what they think of going fishing. It's not. I don't want to forfeit the trip, and if I can move it, we always look for, hey, can we do it tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon? I try to not bundle trips up, doubles for too many days in a row, so we kind of have a little bit of flexibility, especially if I have people coming from a long ways out of town. And then number 3, we got to catch fish. That's always on me, and I take that really personal too. There's a lot of people at the end of a hard day don't understand that the person most disappointed in the trip is me. We take a lot of pride in what we do. I have 2 guys that work for me in the wintertime, ice fishing, and that's when fishing is really hard. We've been having a great year so far, but again, at the end of the day, that's our whole heart and soul. We take a lot of pride in that, and nobody takes it more personal than us. So
what's the toughest thing to teach somebody new on your boat, a client, if you're taking them out?
It depends. It really depends. And kind of to go back on what you said before too, everybody always asks and talks about how bad of a person you can get on the boat. Everybody always brings that up. Everybody, I can't, if I had $1 for every time this summer, somebody said, well, what's the worst client you had on the boat? I'm like, no, we're not going down this rabbit hole. I'm not going to talk about other. And so it's kind of funny because nobody ever asks about the good people. Like I have had some incredible moments on the boat. I've had things happen on my boat that I've never considered in my lifetime, that I've never thought of. And a little bit off topic here, but to go into it, I've had people terminally ill. I've had people over 90 years old with a walker in my boat that we've made special accommodations to get them in the boat.
Awesome.
And it's not always about, we've had disabled vets, but it's not always about the fishing. Sometimes it's literally just giving somebody the opportunity to do something that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. Ice fishing and in my boat, it has amazed me. Generally speaking, in this industry, I'm a fairly young guide yet, right? But it has amazed me at how many people have called me and asked if I would take them before they booked because they've already been turned down by a bunch of other people. And that, to me, that was really shocking. And like I said, I'm talking about disabled vets. I've had wheelchairs in my boat. And we'll do whatever. We might not be able to go to our favorite fishing spot because it's not safe to bring that individual in 3-foot waves. So we have to go in the river. But it's about more than the fishing.
Yeah.
And that's really something that, it changes the way you think. And at the end of the day, you really feel good about those types of situations.
Wow. Yeah, I mean it does. Yeah, I mean your teachers, your all kinds of things. Right?
Yeah. And when it comes to teaching people, to go to remember to touch on that. So teaching people is awesome. It's fun. Kids are a blast because some kids are fishermen and some kids just like playing with buttons. And on boats, there's a lot of buttons. So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of times where you find out you end up thinking that you're going to be teaching somebody to fish and you end up actually just entertaining so that the rest of the group can fish, or you just never really know what's going to happen. But teaching people is so one-on-one and unique to the person. There's a lot of times where we get guys that, we've fished a lot, so we're good. So just help our wives. And you go over and you show the wives how to do it, and they really don't know how to fish. So they literally do exactly what you show them.
Probably catch more fish too.
And yes, and they're successful, right? And you try to come over here and you kind of try to help them, but they're kind of stubborn because they already know how to fish, and and it's just hilarious like that. So you never know what you're going to get, but overall, it's more about that than it really is, fishing. At the end of the day, you're there to take care of people and entertain and educate them.
Right. That's pretty awesome. So what if they're looking to book this year? How do they get a hold of you? All kind of fun stuff.
I encourage anybody that wants to reach out to me. They can give me a call or a text anytime. 715-923-2025. If you Google Angling Adventures Guide Service, we'll show up. We have a really nice page on the Google. Our website is www.aafishingguide.com. There's a ton of great info on there. And our social media too. So Angling Adventures Guide Service on social media. If you want to follow Facebook, we're just starting what's the other one? Twitter or something, TikTok. We're trying to get better at it. I'm not really a tech guy, but we're trying to get a little bit more into the social media stuff. Facebook, we're pretty active on though. So anybody wants a question there. We have a lot of people that just like to follow along that, maybe they'll never book a trip, but like to just kind of see some of the neat stuff we're up to, and you're welcome to do that.
And those great pictures of that beautiful boat. That's such a beautiful boat.
I appreciate it.
I get you out here. One last question. If you only can go fishing one more time, who you taking and what you fishing for?
Oh boy, man, put me on the spot here. I'm gonna share this, and I'm gonna get so many texts and calls if I gotta pick someone. I'm gonna say Sean Wigg, and we're gonna go chase lake trout. Awesome. He's down for whatever craziness I can come up with.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for being on. I love watching your content. I watch seeing the big fish you guys are reeling all the time. The whole jig and lake trout thing kind of just that threw me for a loop because growing up, it's always was trolling. And I've known people that have gone recently jigging. Obviously, I'm talking to Willie and have friends of mine that have just went and jigging instead with live scope. And I said, no, this is a game changer. This is way different. You're not burning gas. You're just sitting over the fish. And so it's kind of cool to see somebody that is just kind of doing your own thing and doing. I don't know if that's a normal thing up there, if that's just that thing. And down here, we just don't do that. But that's pretty cool. It's a little different to be able to get something pulling hand the whole way. Because a lot of times when people go on these trips, you don't really feel the fish till the very end, if you feel them at all, depending on what else is on there.
Yeah, and that's all keying it in. There's so many different parts of it, and I know you talked to Willie about it. It's kind of funny because one of the things too is you get into these areas and it's not just a lake anymore. You can't look at a map and you can't just like get a game plan ahead of time, because a lot of Lake Superior, it's mapped for navigation. It's not mapped for fishing, and it's extremely inaccurate. So there's a lot of areas where we fish. There is no maps. I mean, we'll pull up on a piece of structure that's 1.5 miles long, and there is no hint of it on any map. You can have the best Lake Master chip, Navionics chip. It doesn't matter. It does not exist. So you spend a lot of time finding those things and then keying in on them and learning them, and it's beautiful. Jigging for lake trout's getting to be a big deal. Casting, they're starting to do it down in the Chicago, Milwaukee Harbors area. Yeah. Lake Superior to me is the ultimate. It's huge. You have to respect the lake. and you're not pulling up into a big city and looking back on smokestacks while you're fishing. So
that is true. That is true. All right, Captain. Well, thank you, Thank you, sir. And if you like the conversation, remember to like and share and subscribe wherever you're watching this. And follow me on my pages at Smile and Fish on TikTok and YouTube, and Matt Snell on Facebook. And remember, there's 2 things you can do every day to give somebody a better day. 1, give them a smile, and 2, take them fishing.